On today's show, the Cavs split the weekend, a disappointing loss in Miami on Sunday, but we're going to talk about Evan Mobley's breakout three-point shooting performance from Saturday in Charlotte as well. That's all straight ahead right here on Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name's Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like 92.3 The Fan, my Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. If you're watching the show on YouTube right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show, of course, is brought to you by FanDuel, where new customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Cleveland Cavaliers lost on Sunday evening, early evening game, 6 o'clock tip to the Miami Heat, 122-113. I thought this was an ugly game. There's a lot to break down from it. I'm not going to spend the entire show today talking about this game. I'm going to talk about Saturday's game against Charlotte that the Cavs won. Coming up with segment number 2, Evan Mobley hit 6 3-pointers. That deserves to be talked about. I was out of town this weekend, so I did not have an episode after that game specifically, so I'm going to spend some time today talking about that. So if you want to just listen about the good things about the Cavs, that'll be in segment number 2 and maybe even part of segment number 3 as well. But number 1, need to start with what happened on Sunday in Miami against the Heat. This was a game that in watching you could just sort of tell that Miami wanted this game more. They wanted to win this game more than the Cavs wanted to win this game. I thought that this was, I'm a little bit surprised, honestly, the Cavs shot as well as they did, particularly from beyond the arc. Like, I think they shot 41 or 42% from 3. I don't have the exact number pulled up right now. But they actually had a solid day shooting the ball from 3-point range. I thought, okay, this is a game, second day of a back-to-back, having played Saturday afternoon in Charlotte, having to travel in Miami where the Cavs are just historically inept, I guess. They are now 16-51 all-time on the road in Miami in franchise history. Obviously, the Cavs are an older franchise than Miami, so they haven't been playing there since the franchise came into existence in 1970. But as long as the Heat have existed, the Cavs have really, really, really struggled in Miami, and Sunday was no different. I thought that Miami came out in this game. I thought they were the more aggressive team. I think that shows in how frequently they got to the free throw line, which they shot right around 8 to 10 more free throws than the Cavs did. I thought they were more aggressive. I thought Miami was more physical. They out-rebounded the Cavs. Miami shot the ball really well as well. I don't think that the Cavs were physical enough on the defensive end of the floor. Overall, this just was not a good game. This was not a high-effort game. I think that this was one that you could kind of see coming, too. Anytime the Cavs go to Miami, it's hard to feel good about it. It being the second day of a back-to-back, it's hard to feel good about that. When you combine those things, it leads to a game like Sunday. Now, the one thing I will say, I was a little surprised with how good Miami looked, considering that they played on Saturday as well. And while the Cavs did have to travel between Saturday and Sunday from Charlotte to Miami, and one, that is an easy flight by NBA terms. Miami played at 8 o'clock Eastern time. That tip-off was at 8 o'clock Eastern time Saturday night, and then they had tip-off at 6 o'clock Eastern time Sunday night. So they had 22 hours between tip-off. You're not going to find a tighter margin than that in the NBA. That will not happen. So I was surprised with how much energy Miami had, but they very clearly had much more energy than the Cavs did. It was a bad start for the Cavs, and then I thought their intensity level actually got to where it needed to be, and they closed out the first quarter. I think they were up by 6 after the first quarter. Didn't necessarily think, okay, everything is fine. But then they go out and they have a bad second quarter. They have a bad third quarter. They find themselves down by, I think, as many as 15 in the second half. Like, it was just not a good performance by this team. Evan Mobley obviously exited the game with an ankle injury. He rolled his ankle in the second quarter, tried to play through it, did for a little while, but then once he came out of the game, he never went back in. He finished with just under 12 minutes played on Sunday, didn't play in the entire second half. Kenny Atkinson, after the game, really did not have an injury update to give, so we'll have to wait, and it is a good thing here, and I'll talk about this coming up later on in the show. It is a good thing that the Cavs have now 4 days off before they play again. Their next game is not until Friday night at home against the Washington Wizards. So really, because of how bad Washington is, and I understand that they just beat Denver, but you could make the case the Cavs' next game is not really until next Monday in Brooklyn because of how bad Washington is. So Evan Mobley did not play in the entire second half. That obviously, anytime one of your star players leaves the game, that is a cause for concern, and that is it dampens your chances of winning that day. What also hurt the Cavs is Donovan Mitchell didn't have a very good day on Sunday. I think he was 5 of 16 from the floor. He finished with 12 points. He had a stretch in the third quarter where it looked like, okay, Donovan Mitchell has arrived. He's going to put the team on his back and rescue the Cavs from otherwise what was a pretty poor performance. Rattled off, I think, 7 straight points in the third. Looked good. Okay, he's here. And then he couldn't really reharness that throughout the rest of the night. So it was just a disappointing effort all around. I do think there were good things off the bench. Ty Jerome, I thought, had a really, really strong stint. His first stint of the game in the first half. I thought Sam Merrill was solid. I thought George Yang gave the Cavs good minutes. Karis LeVert did some good things. Like, this wasn't all bad, but it was not a championship level effort. I think that is the thing that I'm going to keep coming back to. Defensively, they weren't good enough. They didn't rebound the basketball well enough. They played offensively okay. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. They played okay offensively. But in watching this game, you could tell Miami wanted it more. Miami made the hustle plays. They were more aggressive. They were more physical. They had a higher energy level. And the thing that has been a constant in now the 4 games the Cavs have lost and a few other ones that they've won is when they don't play well, they let the other team dictate the pace. I thought that Miami really dictated the way this game was played. Now, when I say dictate the pace, I'm not always saying how fast or slow it is. I'm kind of more so saying like dictating the cadence of the game and how the style of the game probably makes a little bit more sense than the word pace does in this instance. But Miami dictated that. And when you could see that happening early in the game, kind of sat there and thought to myself, you know what? I don't know that I love the Cavs' chances of winning this game. I didn't love their chances of winning on Sunday going into it because just they struggle very mightily in Miami for whatever reason. And listen, a lot of teams struggle in Miami. It's a tough place to win, partially because there's a lot to do there. And I don't know what the Cavs did Saturday night after beating Charlotte and getting to Miami. I have no idea, but they have historically struggled in Miami against the Heat. That looks like it on Sunday. They looked like a team that, for whatever reason, cannot figure out a way to win on the road against the Heat. But Donovan Mitchell wasn't good enough. If they were going to win this game once Evan Mobley went out, they needed a superstar effort from Donovan Mitchell. They didn't get one. And he's going to have off nights. He had an off night tonight. I don't think that this is a big deal. Like, I look at this game, considering the circumstances, considering that it's the second night of a back-to-back. It's in a place that historically this franchise just does not win. Evan Mobley hurt his ankle and Donovan Mitchell didn't have it. And it makes it very easy for me to say, okay, you know what? You can just kind of flush this one. You can just kind of say, yeah, this is just not the best game. But I think you can learn from, okay, this is what happens when you don't bring the energy that you need to bring if you're the Cavs, or you don't bring the effort level or do the little things right. This is the result, and you can learn from that. But I don't know that there's a lot I look at from watching this film saying, you know what, this needs to be corrected. This needs to be better. Like, I just think this was an effort thing. I thought this was an effort thing. I thought it was a physicality thing. I thought it was an aggressive thing. Miami took it to the Cavs. They wanted to win this game on Sunday more than the Cavs wanted to win. Now, Darius Garland had a solid game. There were bright spots. Don't get me wrong. But I think from the start, with the way that this game started out, and I think you can learn a lot about the way a game is going to go in the first 6 minutes or so. And the Cavs have been the best first quarter team in the NBA all year long. And it's not close either. So when the first quarter didn't go that well, and I know they went on a run after Kenny Atkinson called timeout, but when the first quarter didn't go that well, it was really difficult for me to see an avenue where the Cavs were going to win this game. And then when Evan Mobley landed on Kevin Love's foot and turned his left ankle, I think that avenue kind of disappeared completely. I do like that the Cavs didn't give up. I do like that they fought hard down the stretch. I thought that was definitely a positive thing to take away. Like, they cut it to, I believe they cut it to 5 in the fourth quarter, and they couldn't get over that hump. But part of the reason why they were in that hole to begin with was because early on in the game, Miami was just the more aggressive team. All right. Like I think the Cavs should do with that game, we're going to flush it. That is what we're going to say about that game. I want to talk about the game Saturday against Charlotte because Evan Mobley had such a great performance against the Hornets. And I know that there's a little bit of a damper on it because of the ankle injury that he suffered on Sunday night. But he had 6 threes against Charlotte. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about the 8 attempts and really what this changes for the Cavs moving forward if Evan Mobley can be that guy once in a while. We're going to do that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by Mint Mobile. With big wireless providers, what you see, never really what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price that you thought you were going to pay, well, that magically skyrockets up. But with Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about the gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. So say bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. That's a pretty good deal. $15 a month. You can afford that. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. No one wants to lose their number. No one wants to lose their contacts. That is such a hassle to try and rebuild that setting. You don't want to do that. Mint Mobile makes it so you don't have to do that. So ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnba, LOCKEDONNBA. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on 3-month plan only. Speeds slower than 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions do apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said at the top of the show, you can get the show anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Be a friend, tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure they're subscribed as well. Saturday, the Cavs did win a game over the Charlotte Hornets. It was a game that was probably a little bit closer than it needed to be. The Cavs starters probably played a little bit longer than they needed to play in this game. But the biggest takeaway from this game was the performance of Evan Mobley. For a career high 41 points in this win over the Hornets. Hits a career high 6 3-pointers. Those things very intertwined. There's no coincidence that Mobley's career high in points comes on the same day when he sets a career high in 3-pointers made. Now, Mobley, I believe going into Saturday, had never made more than 4 3-pointers in the game. So what we need to talk about really is the first quarter when Mobley hit 5 3-pointers in 1 quarter, where he just came out. He was 5 of 5 in the first quarter. I think he scored 23 points in that quarter alone. Like, he was just dominant. He looked like not only an all-star, he looked like an all-NBA player. So what that does is, if Evan Mobley is capable of this, and I'm not ready to sit here and say because he's done it once that this is just who Evan Mobley is now. But if this is who he's going to be, if he's going to start to have this confidence, and I thought that it was very important to look back to Thursday night's game when thinking about this, where Thursday night against Denver, he was 3 of 5 from 3. The important part there was that he took 5 threes, because going into Saturday, he had never taken more than 6 in a game. So he took 5 threes against Denver and then takes 8 against Charlotte. That is obviously the 13 threes there. Obviously, the most he's taken over a 2-game stretch is in his entire career. That to me is really important because what that does is it creates more space on the floor. And I think if you're listening to this or watching this, you probably know that. Like, I probably don't need to explain exactly how Evan Mobley being defended differently changes the way that the Cavs are defended as a whole. But what this also does, and this is a bit of a math thing here, what this also does is if Evan Mobley is going to be confident shooting the ball from deep, and I'm not saying that he needs to be taking 8 threes a game because I don't think that's wise. But I think 5 is probably a pretty good spot to be. But if this is who Evan Mobley is going to be, if he's going to start taking 3-pointers like this, if he's going to start being this guy from beyond the arc, even if it's not every single game, he becomes somebody that can go get you 40. It's no coincidence that Evan Mobley's first ever 40-point game in the NBA comes on the night where he hits 6 threes in the game for the first time. There's no coincidence there whatsoever, because to get to 40 points, you're going to need to sprinkle in some of that stuff. And I believe in Evan's previous game high of 38, which came, I believe, against Milwaukee a couple years back, I'm not even sure he had a 3-pointer. But if you go back and watch that, he was dominant. He might have been more dominant in that game than he was against Charlotte. But because to get to 38 points, you got to hit a ton of 2s and you got to hit free throws. It's difficult. It takes a lot. The offense really has to go through you for that to happen. That's why you don't see guys that don't shoot threes get to 50 points all that often. It just doesn't happen. It's really hard with the math. Because if you make two threes, that's worth 3 2s. I don't have to tell you how to add up. Don't have to tell you how to multiply. You know that. But to get to 40, if you can sprinkle in 3 threes, it's so much easier to score 35 or 40 points. And if Evan Mobley's capable of doing that, then the Cavs have 3 guys that any night can do that. I think they have 4 guys on the roster that can do it because I put Karis LeVert in that category too. But for Karis LeVert to do that, I think that one of Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell needs to be not playing that night. I just don't think he can do it as the roster is currently constructed. Evan Mobley, if he's going to be this, can do that. And I love the way, so going back to Thursday, there was a 3-pointer that he hit in the corner against Denver, where it was a very quick catch and shoot. It was probably the smoothest 3-pointer that he had taken to date. He had another one like that against Charlotte on Saturday. He had a 3-pointer where he just brought the ball up and walked into it at the top of the key. Like, I loved seeing that. I love seeing that aggression. I love seeing that confidence from him, because that, I think, is a thing that is going to take him to the next level. Because I think the aggression that he's shown and the ability to drive to the basket and the added strength that he's put on display so far this year took him from who he was last year to a new level this year. But there's still more levels to go. Like, he's not a finished product. He shouldn't be a finished product. This, I think, is something that's next. And this is something that can change who the Cavs are offensively in a big way. It can make them such a more dangerous team. It can open up the floor for Darius Garland. It can open up the floor for Donovan Mitchell. It can make the Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley 2-man game so much more dangerous. I've talked at times about the Sam Merrill, Evan Mobley 2-man game. How much difficult is that? How much more difficult, I should say, is that to defend for opponents if both of those guys are capable of hitting threes at a decent clip? Now, Evan's not going to ever attract the same gravity on the perimeter that someone like Sam Merrill does, but, man, it's something that defenses have to think about. It was really, really impressive, and the aggression matters too. Like, no one on that floor, and I understand it's Charlotte. Charlotte's not a very good team. They didn't have everybody available in that game. I completely understand that as I'm saying this. But there was nobody in that floor that could look at Evan and do anything about anything he was doing. And that matters too, because you need to have moments like this, even if it's against a bad team on a Saturday afternoon. You need to have moments like he had on Saturday where he can just go out there and feel like the baddest dude on the floor. And that is what I saw watching that game on TV. That is what I saw from him, is that he looked like somebody who knew there was nobody on the other team that could mess with him. And it's not going to be like that every night, because there will be nights where There are going to be guys that are going to be very tough for him to score on like that. But you got to start where he's starting. And I thought that was a really great sign. I thought that was that performance from him, even if it was against a bad team, was one of the most encouraging individual performances the Cavs have had so far this season. I thought it's a really big deal. Now, of course, he leaves Sunday's game with an ankle injury. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up in just a second. But I thought that Saturday was the Evan Mobley leap just in a vacuum. Like, I was getting texts from people saying, it's happening. In speaking about Evan Mobley, just it is happening. The leap is here. Because if that's who he's going to be, good luck. The Cavs offense it hits a new level. It hits a new level, and I think that's kind of the only way to get it to that next level. And to be a championship team, I don't know that he needs to be making 6 threes a game. I know he doesn't need to be making 6 threes a game, but he needs to be a threat. And Saturday, he showed that he can be a pretty significant threat from the outside. So Mobley left Sunday's game. The Cavs now have 4 days off, and an update on Max Strus. We'll do that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. I've told you a lot about FanDuel Sportsbook over the past few weeks because FanDuel Sportsbook is, of course, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook also gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. Maybe Monday Night Football. Maybe you've got a hunch tonight. Maybe it's like the middle of the first quarter and start to feel one way or the other. Well, FanDuel, you can go on the Sportsbook app, and they've got the latest stats, live play-by-play updates, everything you need to place live bets right in the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Plus, college football playoff field was announced on Sunday, so we've got 4 first-round games with lines already up on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Maybe you're an Ohio State fan. Buckeyes currently 7.5-point favorites at home against Tennessee, or maybe you're like me, you're a Notre Dame fan. They are 7.5-point favorites at home against the Hoosiers of Indiana. I like Notre Dame. I might like Tennessee. I think Ohio State's kind of broken, but whatever you like, FanDuel has you covered. So if you want to get started with $150 in bonus bets, head on over to FanDuel right now. Make sure that first $5 bet you place is a winner, and you will be rewarded. So like I said, visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. If you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs. The Cavs now basically have a week off. It's not a full week. It's not 7 days. It's not an all-star break, but this is as close as they're going to get to that type of break now. They played Sunday night. Their next game is Friday night at home against the Washington Wizards. And this is a real opportunity to get healthy. This is an opportunity, considering Evan Mobley twisted that left ankle on Sunday in Miami. Maybe he doesn't have to miss any time because there is a gap, a significant gap by NBA standards between that ankle twist and the next game. Isaac Okoro, who has missed the last 2 games with a left knee contusion, I believe it's his left knee, with a knee contusion, maybe he's back on Friday. Maybe he doesn't have to miss any more time. Max Strus, over the weekend, he practiced with the Cleveland Charge, the G League affiliate of the Cavs. Maybe, just maybe, he is back for this game on Friday night. I don't know if that's the plan. I do believe that the plan for Max Strus is to be back. I was told middle of this month. Well, the 13th is the next game. That's close to the middle of the month, right? Like the 15th is technically the middle of the month. That we're getting very close to seeing Max Strus and seeing that he did go and practice with the Cleveland Charge over the weekend. That is something that tells me, okay, we're getting there. We are going to see Max Strus playing basketball for the Cavs very soon. Maybe it could be Friday. Maybe it could be Monday in Brooklyn. If not, after that, there's a couple of home games with Milwaukee and Philadelphia after that. I think that it's going to be sooner than later, and this time off could potentially give the Cavs an opportunity to practice, which is not something they've had a lot of this year. They've not had a ton of practice time, and that could be something that helps to get everyone back. So there is a chance. I don't know how good of a chance. I'm not saying that I necessarily expect Max Strus to play on Friday. I don't know how bad the ankle sprain of Evan Mobley is as of now. I don't know if Isaac Okoro is going to miss good time, how much time, or more time, I should say. But there is a chance, again, I don't know how big of a chance, but there is a chance that by the end of the week, the Cavs are playing their first game fully healthy of the season. And that's what this break does. It gives them a chance to sort of rest, refresh. They've played a lot of basketball games so far. They've gotten off to a great start. They're 21-4. There's nothing to complain about through 25 games. But I think that this little break that they're getting right now is going to be a really, really good thing for them. So the Cavs don't have games this week. I'm still coming at you every day. Locked on Cavs. Be subscribed. I've got a few interviews lined up that I think you guys will enjoy. Also, thinking about doing a mailbag episode on Friday before the game against the Wizards. I think this is a good time for it. So if you do have questions for me that you want answered about the Cavs, drop them in the comments or tweet them at me at RealDCunningham on Twitter. So you can comment on YouTube or you can tweet them at me, Twitter, Blue Sky as well. I'm there. Send them my way. If you've got comments for a Friday episode, not sure I'm going to do it, but if you've got questions, that's where you want to hit me with them, and I will maybe get to them on Friday. But like I said earlier, thank you for listening to Locked on Cavs. Thank you for making this your first listen today and every day. You can find the show at your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked on Cavs podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Click that thumbs up button before you get out of here. And make sure you hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss the latest Locked on Cavs content. I will be back tomorrow. I've got an interview for you. We're going to talk about the Cavs, maybe a little bit their gambling odds, what we have liked from them so far. So keep it locked right here. And I will be back tomorrow with more Locked on Cavs.